SEC Media Day has started, and boy, did it start off with a bang. Colin Klein got us started, and a little controversy there, but hey, he's confident in his team. Everybody's going to be talking about Texas, and I know everybody's waiting on Lane Kiffin and see what he has to say. But one thing I'm going to be paying attention to is on Wednesday, Florida's Jon Sumrall. And this could be the beginning of one of the most impactful coaching careers in college football. I know, that's a bold statement because we haven't seen him coaching a game yet at Florida. And, we have Florida's record, they group of five coach coming in and things like that. But we haven't seen him navigate that schedule. We haven't seen him in Gainesville, but that's exactly why I want to see him in this media day. Not because, he's going to reveal a lot of secrets to his coaching or anything like that, but I'll be watching for what he talks about and how he sets the stage for how his program is going to go. People will look at SEC media days and they want to know about who's going to be the starting quarterback. I'm sure those questions are going to come up, but the real story is about leadership. It's about vision. It's about identity. This is the first opportunity that we get to hear from the coaches and hear exactly what kind of program they're building. Every answer matters. Every word matters, not because we're going to remember every quote, but think about the recruits that's out there listening, the parents, the high school coaches, players inside his own locker room. When Summerall steps from behind that podium, he isn't talking to just reporters. He's going to be talking to recruits. He's going to be establishing those expectations, setting the program, defining what Florida football is all about. That's why I'm so high on him. If you have ever heard him speak, you'll be high on him too. But here's one of the main reasons why I think Florida made one of the smartest coaching hires. Great coaches just don't inherit talent. They build systems. Anybody can have one great season. We could see Jay Novell at Florida State. He had one great season. Anybody can catch lightning in the bottle, but the truly elite coaches, they create that culture that produces winning year after year after year. That's what separates those good coaches from those championship coaches. When I look at Jon Sumrall, I don't just see somebody who can win games. I see somebody who understands the entire football program and how to build it through discipline, that development, that accountability, those player relationships. Those things don't just show up in the recruiting rankings. They show up with championships. I guess, really, he kind of reminds me of a great military leader. That's one of the reasons I'm so high on it, because it has nothing to do with X's and O's. It comes from something that I learned long before I started even looking at football and analyzing it like that. As a retired member of the military, I had the opportunity to serve under some great leaders who inspired people. And they really, under those leaders, they don't just simply hold a title as leaders. There's a difference. Some of the best military leaders don't lead by fear. They led by, just earning that trust, establishing a standard, not about the emotion, establishing a standard. They communicate clearly whatever the mission is that we need to accomplish. They communicated that. They hold everyone accountable, including themselves. And they execute the mission with discipline every single day. And when I listen to Jon Sumrall, I can hear those traits in him. I can see those traits when you start looking at what he was doing with the gauntlet. If you look at his spring, you can hear those. I mean, it helps that Rusty Witt, former Green Beret, is a strength and conditioning coach. You can see how that stuff kind of translates. You don't hear someone that's chasing headlines. He's establishing intent. He's doing that intentional. It's not all about motivating with speeches. He's building that culture where everybody understands what their role is and what their standard is for that football team. Just like great military leaders, they understand that success isn't built during the battle. It's built during the preparation part of it. It's built during the repetition, through the discipline, through that attention to detail. It's through those creating those habits that will hold up. When you get in the fourth quarter, you don't have to think about it. They've already repped that. That's when that adversity hits. You're already ready for it. So I heard him even say that part. So he's even saying that, hey, it's not built in the game. It's built before the game. So you prepare so you can't fail when the fourth quarter comes. So when you're down by 4 in the swamp with 100,000 plus screaming, you don't all of a sudden become disciplined. You have to be that. So they're going to rely on those habits. And that's why I think Jon Sumrall has a chance to be special. So some of the greatest leaders I've seen wasn't even the loudest people in the room. They were the most consistent, though. They create that confidence because everybody knew exactly what was expected of it. And from everything I've seen so far, seems like that's the culture that Jon Sumrall is trying to build in Florida, that leadership. that clarity, that consistency. So some of the things I'll be listening for when it comes to this Wednesday at SEC Media Day, I'll be listening for that connection to that vision, that message. You know, a lot of those great coaches that you listen to, like Nick Saban and even Kirby Smart and Steve Sarkisian to that end, they always have one message. They might answer different questions, but when it comes back, they get back to their philosophy and they keep hammering that over and over again. And that's the kind of leadership that kind of stands out. If Summerall consistently brings every question back to his culture, accountability, development, and compete every single day, that's a coach who knows exactly who he is. Another thing to look out for, the players are going to get interviewed also. I'll be paying attention to the Florida players at Media Day. Watch how they talk about the program. Are they confident in their coach, their program, and what they're doing? Do they sound connected? Are they repeating those same messages that the coach is saying in his interview? Because if they are, that's a sign that that culture is just starting to sink in. It's not manufactured; it's real. I think this is really about the future of Florida when it comes to that, the future of that program. Because every great program is going to have a moment where people look back and say, that's when it all started. And I think Wednesday is going to be the kickoff to that if we listen out for it. I think maybe that's why I see, Jon Sumrall a little different than some people. As a retired military leader, I've learned I can recognize some exceptional leaders long before the results on the scoreboard. The scoreboard eventually catches up with that culture that those leaders set. And I believe that's exactly what we're going to witness at Florida. That's why I call him my coach, even though I'm not a Florida fan. I'm a Hurricane fan, actually. Mario Cristobal, great leader. But I think Florida brought in the right guy for the job. And I'm excited to see what he does, what that scoreboard shows at the end of this season and in future seasons. But tell me what you think. Do you think Jon Sumrall is the right coach to bring Florida back to championship contention in the SEC? Or am I getting a little hype and I'm getting away from reality? I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you on the next one.